Good evening, Africa. My name is Bamakore, actor, model, producer, and I'm giving a big shout out to VOP TV, man. Keep watching. Don't change the dial. Thank you and God bless you.
My name is AY, and of course, I represent the voice of the people, and that's why I'm on VOP. AY say so.
Hi everyone, it's your girl Miriam Tima from the Real Housewives of Lagos and the Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip Africa. Shout out to VOP, the voice of the people. You already know. Stay tuned, keep watching. And don't forget, VOP is the best.
All right, hello, how are you? It's about shagging the man fine back with Melanie Poppy Black Skin Boy. This is VOP TV. If you're not watching VOP, I don't know what you're watching. Maybe you're watching your weight.
Hello, beautiful people. This is Wale Ojo, and you're watching VOP, Voice of the People.
Hi, guys, you already know who it is. This is New Energy. Flyers whatever live. Keep watching VOP TV. Thank you.
Hi, people. Ginny Albano here. Guys, please keep watching Voice of the People.
In a world where truth is the ultimate power and opinions scream the loudest, it's time to wade through the noise.
Hunger no get tribe! Hunger no get religion!
And scan the human interest and trending topics that matter. Stay tuned to The Issues, your plug to the stories making the buzz, from politics to science and technology, social justice, and more. Let's tackle the tough questions and expose the truth. The Issues on Voice of the People Television, Mondays to Fridays, 8 to 9 p.m. The Issues. Don't just react. Understand.
This is Health Check, your weekly guide to better living, smarter choices, and trusted answers. From everyday wellness to urgent health issues, we've got you covered. Health Check, only on Voice of the People Television, where your health has a voice.
Join us as we drive into the world of politics through insightful interviews with prominent political figures, both serving and former governors, ministers, senators, legislators, party chieftains, activists, and analysts. Get first-hand information into the decision-making processes that affect our daily lives. Highly engaging one-hour program that brings political discourse into focus.
I am Chukwuma Okoro.
Political Lens, Monday through Friday, 6 to 7 p.m. Join us. To know the happenings in the maritime sector, join us on the program Maritime Frontiers on VOP TV as we discuss key areas in the maritime sector, from aquaculture, maritime transportation, maritime labor regulation, oil and gas exploration, ferry and passenger insurance, marine pollution and prevention, port operations, and lots more. Maritime Frontiers, exploring Nigeria's blue economy. The red carpets, awards, the razzmatazz, music, fashion, interviews, and more. Spotlight on Voice of the People Television. Let's feed you with all the juicy stories in the global entertainment space, bringing you the glitz and glamour as they hot. Stay tuned to Spotlight, 1 p.m. Monday to Friday. Spotlight on VOP TV. Entertainment like never before.
Welcome to another interesting edition of VOP this morning. I am Fina Okechukwu, And today is also the 16th day in the month of December 2025. Christmas is just here. I wouldn't say it's fast approaching, it's just there. So for those of us who are not ready yet for the Christmas, we're not expecting your Christmas goodies, hampers, and all that, don't worry. Write your letter to Santa. And believe me, to get to him before you say Jack Robinson. But on a more serious note, to have interesting lineups for us this morning as Voice of the People is our duty to bring to your notice trending stories and also expect you to send us a message or comment on those messages or those informations that we have brought to your hearing or your notice this morning. And one of the topic of conversation on the table today is how the Supreme Court finally affirms that the President of Nigeria has power to declare state of emergency and also suspend elected officials. Nigerians have been reacting to this story, and the reason for this was the fact that PDP took the president to Supreme Court, and they have made Nigerians understand that it is what? Legal for the president to do that. Then, away from that, also chiming on Malami, accusing the EFCC chairman of personal grudge and also demands an arraignment or release in 24 hours. Interesting. And if we move away from that, we'll still check what is playing out within a political space. RFI breaks silence, rejects 2027 South presidency claims. So these are the major topic of conversation today. We have other interesting trending stories. But before we proceed, kindly visit our website, www.vop.ng. There you have fresh and trending news. And you can also be part of the family by subscribing to our YouTube channel. On YouTube, we are Voice of the People TV. And across all the social media platforms, we are VOP TV Live. Click on the notification button so that you also know when we join us and how to join us live.
Join us live. Good morning and thanks for joining us. I am Chukuma Okoro.
And I am Moses Humphrey. And straight away, let's get to some of the conversations that we are having this morning. Nigerians are also chiming in on these conversations. The Federal Road Safety Corps, FRSC, has announced that popular TikToker Habib Hamza, popularly known as Pella, would be prosecuted for reckless driving. Now, this came hours after Pella crashed his car during a live TikTok session on Sunday following a reported breakup with his girlfriend, Jarvis. I can't even remember what her real name is. Well, videos from the live stream show the content creator crying. How old is he again? 21? Or thereabout? 21. No, he's not 19. No, he's about 21 now. Well, videos from the live stream show the content creator crying while driving and making a series of alarming statements like, I'm going to kill myself. I'm scared. I want to die. My body is shaking. Okay. Yeah, just trying to mimic the sound of his voice. Now, in a statement on Monday, after the incident, of course, the statement by spokesperson Olusegun Ogungbemide, the FRSC noted that the Corps Marshal has directed the Lagos State Sector Commander to immediately activate all necessary processes for the prosecution of the individual involved for reckless driving, use of phone while driving. That, of course, is an offense. Making videos while driving is an offense, and distracted driving. Now, in accordance with extant traffic laws. Now, the Corps Marshal, Shehu Mohammed, raised concerns about the growing trend of content creators and celebrities who, in the quest for online attention, deliberately flout traffic regulations and endanger lives. Mr. Mohammed warned that such behavior poses grave danger not only to the driver, but to other innocent road users. He further warned that fame does not place anyone above the law, nor does it excuse dangerous behavior on public roads. And yes, the young man who you can see on your screen there, Pella, went on a rampage, I would say, yesterday that his girlfriend broke up with him, you know, and it's even, these are young people. Is it jet age, I call it, or it has turned people into something else. So a young man and a young woman, all they care about is showing off relationship online, and the world is following them, commenting. Now, I think what he did was, as far as I'm concerned, it was content. As far as I'm concerned, it was content, because immediately the accident happened, his friends got there. His friends were already probably behind him. So it was an act. And then he made an announcement after this one that in the coming days, maybe today or thereabout, he will do another one, that he wants to be doing things that will kill him. You know, he made an announcement that he's going to drive another car off the bridge or something in that light. I think, you know, this just buttresses the fact that there should be some sort of regulation with the use of the internet, content creators and the rest. This, to say the least, is appalling. All right, it's appalling that this young man is teaching young ones to be reckless, to endanger their lives, all in the name of, I don't want to call it love because that's not what it is. All in the name of creating content, and they're making that announcement. That I know it has happened in some other climes. There was one content creator somewhere in the world who streamed his own suicide. It has happened. You know, went live, killed himself live, and people were applauding it and all of that. They didn't know until it was discovered that he was actually dead. And I think that's what this young man is. Well, that's what he will end up doing to himself if care is not taken, if he's not reined in at this point. And he should be reprimanded thoroughly for this bad behavior. That's what it is. In fact, he should be spanked, laid on the bare floor, and given 6 strokes.
But before we spank him, I think we need to, because you made mention of, I wanted to, point to that direction too. We have to first of all check: is Pella having some issues with a girlfriend? That's the first two.
I don't. That's
then another thing again
that's
is
not a reason to be reckless.
No, that has not been reckless. Now, when you say something about a child, he's just 20 years old.
He has a girlfriend.
That's the thing. That's the thing about. We'll discuss that later. Just a child, I think they started the relationship when he was 19 or thereabouts, and the girl was 4 years older than he was. And
she's older than.
Yeah, Jarvis Jadorita was older than him. So if we were to look at it this way, first of all, let's find out if if Pela is okay, if maybe they are no longer in the relationship which they have been in for so many years, and he is reacting to his pain this way, then that shows there's more to this than what we're seeing. First, secondly, if maybe after that, after we must have checked after checking it, and then finally they say they are still together, I will also
they shouldn't even be together at this point.
Why would you say they shouldn't be together at this
start to
point?
threaten that, if this person leaves, I'll kill myself. Then you shouldn't be with that
person.
We're
there when they began this.
We
see this happen even with older people to start with. Older people do this.
It's
not about our age, right? Older people
mental
do this.
illness.
I'm happy you understand that.
You can actually kill that person if care is not taken.
When you're
obsessed, it is in that person's best interest not to be in close proximity with the person who thinks, if you leave me, I'll kill myself.
Older people do that. So let's forget about the fact that children are the ones displaying it now.
No, they're not children. They're
young adults are the ones doing it. So if at the end of the day, we found out that maybe they're no longer together, then we have to first of all do the work the way it should be. No, we have to look at it. Because today he risks his life. Right, for us now, he's created a content, but we don't know what was happening, what played behind the scenes. Then at the end of the day, if this man is not, if he's okay, and he just wanted to create content, I would suggest he going for it, a stiffer penalty.
It's not a matter of you suggesting that.
But if he's not okay,
the commercial has already said that he'll be prosecuted. So if
why hasn't he been arrested?
If he was doing content and he crashed, and the commercial has said he's been prosecuted, probably he'll go to court and now continue with the content. Okay. And if he has come out to say, look, I'll do more content, so that I'll probably kill myself, he doesn't need to wait for too long. There's in the lagoon there. He doesn't need to jump into the lagoon.
That's what we're
Now, I want to look at this in the broader concept of modeling, role model, for our younger generation. And within the context of reckless driving, there are many talking points around this issue. First of all, let me start with parenting. I'm sure this young man has parents. He owns his car. I don't know how affluent the parents are. He owns his car. Now he drives himself around, and he has a girlfriend, and he's had problems with the girlfriend. And all of a sudden, he threatens to kill himself in the course of doing content and all of that. He crashes their car. God saved him. He didn't get injured or what, and I'm sure he didn't injure another person. So what exactly is he teaching the younger ones? The parents, what did his parents teach him, and what is he teaching the younger ones? He apparently becomes a role model. So when you turn around, the role model you see around, our children see are people like Pella. You turn to the politicians are the role model our children see. They don't see medical doctors, but why? Because medical doctors are always on strike. They don't want to become lecturers because lecturers are always on strike. They don't want to become policemen because policemen are always on strike because of non-payment of salary. Everywhere you turn, Nigerians are striking. So who now plays the role model for the younger generation? I think we are headed in a very dangerous direction. And it calls for concerns and urgent action, not just by parents, but by society at large. If we keep traveling in this direction, I don't know, probably we'll start breeding, children who wake up one morning and say, let me do one nasty thing as content. Like the example Moses pointed out, a young man wanted to, do content and kill himself. And people thought it was a joke until they eventually realized that it was real and the person was dead. These things impact negatively on the younger generation. Like I keep saying, we have a very serious problem in our hands. And Moses, I like the fact that you always talk about the younger generation, how they do drugs and all of that. This is one of them. TikToking now, there is any need for you to go to school since you can, go to one of these app stores, buy equipment, start streaming live, do content and all of that. And you make big money.
Follow you, yes.
And people follow you. These are role models. Is it the kind of people that we want our children to emulate in the next 10, 15, 20 years?
We have parents going naked on social media.
On social media.
For content.
And
they tell you,
going naked.
If you try to reprimand them, they tell you, look, I'm a graduate. If you can give me 5 million a month, then I'll stop. If you can't, allow me to do my content. Because because everything has been monetized. Our morality has been monetized.
It's a very dangerous route we are traveling. We might not realize it. A lot of people think that we are having fun. And when you go to all those places, you see one silly person that comes and, naked himself or herself. And he's getting like 500,000 views.
As a society you're in today, that is how it is what it is.
And you are talking serious business, talking economy, talking fuel subsidy, talking CNG, and nobody even likes what you are saying.
It is what it is. It's the trajectory the world have taken. But
No, it's not the world.
If you check out the world, it's happening everywhere. It is happening everywhere.
No, it's not happening everywhere.
If you check out people who are doing live,
Asian internet, Asian website, the kind of content you see are not the kind of content you
do we have people who are also doing all those things for them to make their own money? But you know that now at this point in time,
are you aware?
Apart from TikTok working, it doesn't work in some places. There are some countries who have decided that they want to take
TikTok had to ban
live streaming. Don't do live streaming again. Yes, they ban it now. But some countries noticed or understood this from the beginning to say we don't want our people or the children or the young or the teens that we have to pass or to follow a trajectory that's not good. If you go to Asia, they have the WeChat. Not all social media works with them.
That is what we are saying.
But even as they are doing that, people are still misusing it for them to get their own money. We see how people who go naked.
If you go to the internet, the kind of content you see that come from Asian countries, are they not more creative than what we have?
Not
here?
really. There's
when your car gets stuck, how to pull it out.
Exactly.
If you lock your key inside your car,
that is real. What you see. We also have Nigerians or Africans who are also great. They are there. You have to look. They are there. No, they are there. They are there. They are there. No, it's not the issue of knowing the truth. It depends on. It's not the issue of us knowing. No. We shouldn't generalize. There are people who are creating genuine content that are beneficiary to people out there. So we shouldn't just make it dwell.
Percentage difference.
More.
What spreads
more?
Our
internet is we have more immoral content over here.
If you check your social media platform,
Asian internet,
it depends on the one you want to watch. It depends on the one you subscribe for. But believe me, if you go through the internet, you see quite interesting, educative, informative things that you can actually leverage.
It's all right. The thing is that parents out there, please watch what your children watch. That's it from me, because we are traveling in a very dangerous direction and it doesn't portend any good for any of us. Now, the Minister of Works, Dave Umahi, says there will no longer be a need for the people of the Southeast to agitate for a Biafran nation. as President Bola Tinubu's inclusive governance has raised the region's long-standing grievances. Well, the minister made the remarks in a 1-minute 30-second video of an inspection tour of ongoing federal infrastructure projects in the region. Mr. Umahi said the agitation for Biafra, largely driven by feelings of neglect, exclusion and underrepresentation, has significantly reduced under Mr. Tinubu's administration due to increased federal presence and investments in the Southeast. Well, according to Mr. Umahi, the people of Southeast are now comfortable and happy with Mr. Tinubu. I think he should speak for himself. Maybe himself and his family, they are happy with Mr. Tinubu. Nobody asked Umahi to speak for the people of the Southeast. Now, a former governor of Ebonyi State, he highlighted several ongoing and completed federal projects in the Southeast. I went to the East, I didn't see any. I was in the East about a month ago, I didn't see any, and I didn't see him list them, noting that many of them had stalled for more than a decade before the Tinubu administration intervened. I also understand that most of those jobs were given to indigenes of the Southeast and they failed to deliver. Now, when people like Umahi come out to spew this kind of what I call gibberish, like I said, we raised this issue somewhere and someone said, like I also agree, well, that Umahi is speaking for himself and his immediate family. He is not speaking, nobody authorized him, to speak for the Igbo nation. He's simply the minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and it ends there. He's not authorized to speak for the Igbo nation. He's speaking on behalf of himself. Probably he's happy. A lot of Southeasterners are still not happy with this administration because President Tinubu, while he was campaigning, came to the Southeast, and he came to Enugu in particular. I was there. He said, look, if you don't vote for APC, you got a soaked slice of bread, and that is what the Southeast has received in the past 2+ years of this administration. Like I said, I was in the East a month ago, and I didn't see from the head bridge from Onitsha to the end of Abia State that borders Akwa Ibom, that empties into the ocean, where I come from. I couldn't drive like 30 minutes without seeing a bad road. Federal roads, as a matter of fact. So I don't know where Umahi is building this. He insulted us. And what did he say? He said, with the entrance of Peter Mba to the APC, the Southeast has been included in the mainstream of Nigerian politics. And that was a pure insult as far as I'm concerned. You don't toy with the people like that. People that contribute meaningfully, to this nation in any way you look at it. And for people like Umahi to come and say, look, Southeast is not included. I keep saying he's speaking for himself. And that is what happens when they are in government. They keep defending the government. Look at what Umwabeze Ngige is saying now, Chris Ngige. Different laws for different people. But he was busy defending the Southeast, defending the APC, when he was in government. Now he's out of government. They have come after him. Go and answer questions. Now, one good day, it will be the turn of Dave Umahi to answer questions. At that point, let him not say, my people, Southeast, nobody. Personally, others will come, but I won't speak for you. Now is the time. Martin Luther King said something. In the end, what will matter most is not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. That's my payoff line.
Okay, for those that want to get or have a hand on where the project that Dave Umahi was talking about, he listed some projects too, so it's left for you, to go there to check if those projects are working. Apart from the one he said is being handled by MTN under RCC, pegged at 202 billion naira, he said something about the Southeast having the Enugu to start with, Artisan Bridge is finished, dusted and delivered. You go to Depot Junction in AK Obinago, where the biggest flyover in Southeast is ongoing. That one is still an ongoing project. He went further to talk about the Enugu-Port Harcourt Expressway, the Owerri-Onitsha Expressway, and the Section 2B of the second Niger Bridge. He said that the project is valued at 176 billion naira. And then just this few he listed, is saying that the Southeasterners are now happy with...
Fina, before you continue, these are ongoing. These projects were not started by the Tinubu administration. The Artisan Bridge, that was named when Artisan Bridge collapsed. It collapsed. It's not a new bridge. It's just that a bridge, like a walkover in a solo collapsed and they rebuilt it. What does that mean? That's what they're supposed to do.
He says that...
The Enugu-Onitsha. I was in Enugu, and like I said, I was in the Southeast last month. Enugu-Onitsha is still ongoing. You cannot drive on two sides of it's a dual carriage. You cannot drive at the same time. At one point, in the night, you had to. We almost got hit by a trailer because we were using one lane of the dual carriageway. So what is he talking about?
That
These
is
are ongoing projects
that's the way the
that have been there
format
for the past 30 years,
Now,
unable to be finished by any administration.
about the Swift bridge. But another thing again to look at is the way he have positioned these projects, that they are going to last from 50 to 100 years. I wish you would be alive for us to verify that. Because another thing is, when you're talking about the presence of the federal government in some region, you also should be talking about the durability of the roads that we are having. Because we have roads in Nigeria not motorable. And then we are spending over 1 trillion naira on 47 kilometers of the Calabar-Lagos Coastal Highway, which another million were spent. That was one that made me to shed tears on Saturday, seeing that monies were spent to temporarily open the 47 kilometers of the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway for the Utah, so there will not be what? There will not be gridlocks and people can easily use the road temporarily, you know. But anyway, that is Dave Umahi defending
he's talking about inclusion. The ambassadorial list, how many did the Southeast get? 5. Southwest got how many?
He's talking about
is that inclusion?
Infrastructural development that we have the
No,
president.
it should be all inclusive now.
Okay, but I think it's cut out for the Southeasterner to know if Dave Umahi is speaking for you or is speaking for himself.
And
so if he's not speaking for
where
you,
I would like to take it from.
let him come in and talk about it.
If people like Dave Umahi speaks and make it sound like they're speaking for the entirety of the Southeast, I think it's great injustice to the Southeasterner who is still clamoring for inclusion, the Southeasterner who feels neglected, who feels secluded, the Southeasterner whose business in the Southwest is being affected. Businesses are being pulled out. You know, houses are being pulled out for, you know, whatever reason. It's injustice to these people, because it just waters down the fight or the clamor for justice that the Southeasterner is craving. It waters it down. It waters the inclusion that the Southeasterner is craving. So I think people like him should be wary. If you want to speak for yourself, you of course, as an individual, you're at liberty to say, to, you know, applaud an administration or beat your chest and say, yes, you've done a good job, but don't speak for the Southeast, because a large percentage of the people in the Southeast still feel left behind. They still feel aggrieved. They still feel neglected. So it's not in his place to speak for the Southeast. But anyway, Ebonyi State, also in the Southeast, the governor of Ebonyi State, Francis Nwifuru, has announced a Christmas bonus of 150,000 naira to every civil servant in the state for the 2025 festive season. Governor Nwifuru made the pronouncement on Sunday during a church service at the Government House Chapel in Abakaliki. And according to him, the gesture aligns with his administration's commitment to improve the welfare of civil servants, despite dwindling revenue accruing to the state in the past year. He maintained that his administration is taking steps to ensure the state is seen in the Committee of Nations with advanced and modern infrastructure. Oh well, when I saw this, I'm like, okay, it's a good move. 150,000 naira bonus. So it's 13th month, the usual 13th month, and it's a good move. It's laudable. Civil servants in the state will be grateful. But my producer, the producer of this show, is from Ebonyi. So I was wondering, is she getting any of these? Is her family member part of this largesse?
She's a civil servant.
She's not a civil servant, but is her family member? Does she know anybody who is getting part of this largesse? But anyway, it's a good thing that this is happening for the civil servants in Ebonyi. But how many of them outside Ebonyi will be able to travel home this Christmas? Because I understand the airports in Ebonyi, where the one Dave Umahi built, is basically not functional right now. A beautiful airport, you know, when it was opened. But currently, I don't think any flight is going there. I think it's moribund. It's not functional. So how will the people get home? They probably will have to go by road, or maybe land at a different airport and then go by road back to Ebonyi. So if you're empowering civil servants at home, you know Southeasterners usually like to go home. Create an environment where those outside can come back home and celebrate with those at home, and then it will be a blissful Christmas. That's my take on this one. Papers coming up shortly.
I hope they will
You
not.
have,
Just few words. I hope after this 150,000 naira a Merry Christmas bonus to workers, we will not hear that workers are being owed, because that's the next thing I wouldn't want to get to discuss, because then it's not being pessimistic. That's when I'll have something to say about all the spending. Okay, we have the national dailies before us. I have the Nigerian Tribune. I have the These Days newspaper, the Guardian newspaper, the Vanguard newspaper also. It's here. And I would like to start off from the cover page of the Nigerian Tribune. And the window headlines are: Nigeria's inflation drops to 14.45%. Nigerians are asking, how are we benefiting from the drop of the inflation? Pleased to resume tinted glass permit enforcement January 2nd. Why Buhari had no favored successor, Bichi, DGDSS. We have the banner headline on the cover page of the Nigerian Tribune today. Concerns among businesses over new tax regime. Riders fret over LG levies on vehicle, SMEs extortion. Law prohibits cash-based tax collections. Harassment, extortion by local authorities outlawed under NTAA 2025. Insufficient communication clarity ahead of implementation being addressed, Oyedele. Joint Revenue Board declares war on illegal roadblocks, scrubs road stickers nationwide. We have other headlines that made it to the cover page of the Nigerian Tribune. Buhari's legacies endure. That is coming from the President, Tinubu. Right after that story, there can't be a better successor than Tinubu, Katsina governor. Several worshippers feared abducted by bandits in Kogi Church. The story is on page 27. On the health sector, too much coffee may weaken bones in older women. That's coming from study. 2026 budget, senators demand more answers. Right after that story, FG admits revenue challenges. We got 10 trillion naira out of 40 trillion naira projected in 2025. Finance Minister says only non-revenue target met in August. MTF FSP to await probe into revenue performances in 2024-2025. Supreme Court affirms President's power to declare emergency rule. Those are the stories you'll find on the cover page of the Nigerian Tribune today.
And the Vanguard newspaper has these headlines: Senate kicks against multiple budgets in one fiscal year. USA exhibition, Christmas comes early at Alexis Galleries. Interagency rivalry to blame for bandit allegation, Kwara government officials. Terrorism sponsor, ex-governor Bafaroa carpets Bello Turji. And year-end festivities push inflation to 4-month high. There are riders to that one. Month-on-month, food inflation rises to 1.13%. In November, headline inflation climbs to 1.22%. Year-on-year headline inflation continues decline to 14.45%. Tinubu's reforms helped Nigeria beat 2025 inflation target. Presidency. Tinubu at book lunch on Buhari. Reps waiting to Dangote NMDPRA dispute. Summon parties. Emergency rule. President can suspend elected officials. Supreme Court. And those are the headlines there.
Now let's quickly run through the Daily Sun. Beside the nameplate, Tinubu charges army to remain apolitical. I'll take that again for emphasis. Tinubu charges army to remain apolitical. That's beside the nameplate, Daily Sun newspaper. Dangote, oil mafia worse than drug cartels, behind over 100 attacks on Port Harcourt refinery. Now the big story, Rivers emergency rule judgment. PDP, lawyers fought Supreme Court. Ruling will create tyranny, says lawyers. FIRS to raise 2026 revenue target to 35 trillion naira as Senate frowns at multiple budget rollovers. FG admits 30 trillion naira revenue shortfall in 2025. That's some kind of conflict, meeting revenue target, shortfall and all of that. We must defeat enemies of Nigeria, Defense Minister charges soldiers. We've degraded terrorist operational capacity, he says. PDP will come out of current challenges better, stronger, says Mark Arfi. CJN warns against conflicting decisions on political matters. Directs courts to commence virtual hearing as MBA seeks judicial integrity. That's it from the Daily Sun newspaper.
And that's how far we can go on taking a quick peep on the cover page of the National Join Chukwuma and Moses for the newspaper analysis proper here on Voice of the People Television. 10 a.m. is the time. So we'll go on a quick break and when we come back, we'll dissect the first topic of conversation. Supreme Court affirms President's power to declare state of emergency, suspend elected officials. Do well to stay with us.
From the views on the street
We go to bed empty hunger.
to the blaring horns of a hustling city, the loudest voices of the common man got a medium to be heard.
This particular administration, they were coming unprepared.
It's not a bad thing to renovate the president's lodge.
Through top-notch programming, unbiased reportage of news, sports, business, entertainment, and cultural documentaries, Voice of the People 90.3 FM became a symbol for 21st century media. And now, a new baby is born. Voice of the People Television, VOP TV, youthful, full of vigor and penchant for excellence in the continent's media space, exposing the wrongs, applauding the rights, dissecting the news without fear or favor, through factual and accurate stories and contents.
Corruption kills three things and makes a society.
Representing the interests of the people and giving them a voice. Voice of the People TV is here to stay towards building a fair society. VOP TV, Voice of the People Television, truly a voice for the people.
In a world where power shifts with every headlines, news breaks and events happens, we bring you unbiased and explicit information on politics, economy and state of the nation. We break down the chaos. Facts, not fluff. Truth, not spin. We discuss not just politics, but a glimpse into the future. Voice of the People Television. Now you have more than a voice.
On Edu Dialogue, we bring you fresh ideas and conversations, shaping the future of learning in Nigeria and beyond.
Welcome back. It's still VOP this morning. Supreme Court affirms President's power to declare state of emergency, suspend elected officials. The Supreme Court on Monday affirmed the constitutional power of the President to declare a state of emergency in any state to prevent a breakdown of law and order or a descent into chaos and anarchy. The court further held that during such a period, the President may suspend elected officials, provided any such suspicion is for a limited duration. Suspension, is for a limited duration. Delivering the lead majority judgment, Justice Mohammed Idris held that Section 305 of the 1999 Constitution empowers the President to adopt extraordinary measures to restore normalcy where a state of emergency has been declared. He noted that the provision does not specify the exact nature of those extraordinary measures, thereby vesting the President with discretion on how to act in such circumstances. Meanwhile, the People's Democratic Party has warned that Supreme Court's judgment on the President's emergency powers could open the door to authoritarianism, undermine Nigeria's federal structure, and threaten democratic governance. The PDP National Publicity Secretary Ini Ememobong said in a statement that the interpretation of the Supreme Court judgment may embolden the federal government to subjugate states and dismantle constitutionally elected institutions under the guise of restoring peace and security. We've been joined in the studio by Prince Francis Chilaka, a political and public affairs analyst, and also with us in the studio is Elvis Lihimele, a national affairs analyst too. We'll be joined in Abuja by Julius Ogunro, a media and public or political affairs consultant. We also have Sachukan Nabife, Managing Director, Anambra Civic and Social Reformation Office, a public affairs analyst, writer, columnist, and fellow of the Nigerian Guild of Editors, join us from Oka. Good morning, gentlemen, for being with us here on today's show. Good morning, Dr. Sachukan Nabife, if you can hear me. All right, I would like to start over with you, Prince Francis Chilaka. What do you make of this back and forth? Because according to what the Supreme Court judges said, that there is no explicit information made available by the Constitution on what the president is to do in a situation whereby we'll have a state, being thrown into chaos or maybe anarchy over political, rivalries getting up in the state, or maybe quest for power and struggles. But he or they also said something about the president having the right. It was there according to the Constitution in Section 305 of the Nigerian 1999 Constitution as was amended.
Well, let me say I don't have a problem with the declaration of state of emergency by a president, so long as that declaration is to ensure that there's no breakdown of law and order. And also, in declaring a state of emergency, it must be crystal clear to everyone that it is not all about politicking, and it is not all about trying to hold, the governor to ransom. So I think that the Supreme Court, in giving that fiat of power to the president to declare a state of emergency, they didn't even talk about recourse to the National Assembly anymore. It's like saying that you have given the president the knife to choke every other person. But you see, look at it. Look at the way defections have been happening in the last few months. It looks like the governors who have defected from their parties to APC, they looked into the crystal ball and saw the kind of verdict that the Supreme Court was going to give. So they were all prepared not to fall short of it, because the declaration of state of emergency in Rivers State, to start with, was uncalled for. Because if you look at other states within the country where we've had insecurity, mass killing of people, and the president has not declared a state of emergency. So the president is now like, he decides which state should be under the emergency rule and which state shouldn't be. So for me, that is a blanket ticket to dictatorship. That's what I say.
Now, when you say it's a blanket ticket to dictatorship, we saw, according to what the Apex Court, the judgment they passed, they say that the president has the right also to suspend the elected official, but it has to be within a little or confined period of time, which should not be, more like extending and all of that. But how then are we going to pin it? What's the duration going to be like? And if someone is being suspended, should we have another person appointed to take care of, like we saw what played out in River State, where we have the retired Ibokete Ibas as the sole administrator, but we don't have such made available in the Constitution that there should be a sole administrator and all that. Just help us actually walk around.
You see, there's something the Supreme Court has been doing in recent times. They've been giving judgments that tends to create confusion at the end of the day. Because when you try to interpret that judgment, you find out that everybody's interpreting it to suit them. Look at the issue of Labour Party, where the Supreme Court gave a judgment. Jolas Aburo is interpreting it to suit him. Nenadi Usman is interpreting it to suit her. So the Supreme Court has, they keep doing that. And I think it's something they're doing on purpose. Because if you're going to give a judgment, you have already said, oh, Mr. President has the powers to declare a state of emergency. You should also be able to say, this state of emergency should be for a period of 3 or 6 months. You must be definitive. Now you're living and you're saying, oh, it must not. So in other words, you are putting it also into a confused state. Because at the end of the day, people will start be asking, this declaration of state of emergency, How long will it be? What is the minimum? Is it 6 years? Or is it 1 month? Or is it 3 months? So
okay,
the Supreme Court itself has not been fair in the kind of judgments they've been delivering.
Okay, so you think that Supreme Court is also part of the problem?
They are. No, the judiciary.
Oh, the judiciary.
The judiciary is part of the problem.
Okay, I will come back to that. Let's bring Mr. Elvis into this conversation. Elvis, let's be very practical now. We all understand what the state of emergency is. State of emergency is that, look, there is crisis in a state and we need to, put a wage, to the descent to anarchy, more like, these are the conditions under which a state of emergency could be invoked. Now, if you declare a state of emergency, and of what use will it be that you have a governor who in the first place couldn't stop the descent to anarchy? You still have him, and you still have members of the House of Assembly, in place. Of what use would they be? What's the need of the state of emergency?
Well, the state of emergency came in as a result of the, quote, in quote, the failure of the governor and the state executive to do their job responsibly.
Okay.
To protect the people. And as the president of the nation, all the sub-nationals are under his wings and caprices to take care of. And if the governor cannot do that, and one of the states out of the 36 or whatever has an issue, he has to come in. But suspending the governor and the state executive is for a period of time shows that the president must now work with whoever is appointing in collaboration with the House of National Assembly to bring peace within the period of time to that state. But that period of time is what we're actually looking at now. How long?
No, okay, period of time, one issue. But the reason why I asked this question,
yes.
Do you approve of the president, suspending the governor and the legislature during a state of emergency?
Yes. If it's an issue that is going to put the state in chaos and lead to death, I approve that. But not on political ground. What we saw in Rivers last time, there was no threat. There was no threat to life. If it is disaster, that maybe force majeure, the state cannot be, an emergency cannot be declared in that state. This federal government should assist. But if there are attacks, for instance, the political opponents in the states are attacking themselves, leading to death, the president can come in.
You said something, in the course of your intervention, you said something that is somehow troubling. You said that we have a president and we have 36 states who have top nationals who are more like under the president. Are they under the president because they were also elected?
They are
in
elected.
a true federalism, should they be under the president?
They are not on the ground that they are under the president for control, but they are under the president as they are working in unity to bring development and peace to the nation. Okay. If one of the states is troubled, whether the president has the prerogative of power to say, oh, I cannot talk on that because I was also elected the same way the governor was elected, is going to miss his government. Okay. It will bring an infraction into the development of his government. So all the 36 states must function accordingly for the president to also have peace, to also give out the national policies and procedures for the country to move forward. So in that regard, if any of the state is troubled, the president must come in.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Elvis Alimele, for your submission. Let's take the conversation to Oka. Sachuka Nabife, good morning, if you can hear me. I don't know if you've joined the conversation. All right. Good morning, Julius Ogunro. Good to have you join today's conversation. Please, what do you make of this, the judgment by the Supreme Court and the fact that some Nigerians are reacting to it, saying it's going to embolden the federal government more to suspend elected officers and also maybe impose state of emergency using their discretion? Because that is what the interpretation of the Supreme Court was all about, that the president has a right to, declare state of emergency in a state where there is anarchy and also suspend the elected officials.
I think that the judgment is, in my view, sort of the states have equal rights as the president. You can't by fiat remove a governor that was elected by the people. except maybe for the State House of Assembly. I think it's very unusual for the Supreme Court judgment, but there are some issues that came out of it. I think one of the major issues the Supreme Court dealt with was the issue of jurisdiction. The state governors, the PDP governors that took the matter to court, according to the Supreme Court, had no locus to take the case to court. So I think that was one of the planks for dismissing the case. The other issue the Supreme Court also raised was the issue about how the validation for the action of the president was taken in the National Assembly. The Supreme Court ruled that the vote for whether the president had the right to do that would have been by not voice vote, what you just call. Do you agree that it could have been done by individual legislator coming out to say whether they supported it or not? So it ruled against the government on that. But in all, I think it still tilted towards the power that the president had the powers to remove the state governor in case of an emergency. But I think the issue has to be re-legislated, has to go back to the court again. You know, Supreme Court is also political in the sense that the judgment of the Supreme Court is usually also determined by the judges in the court at that particular time. Maybe another set of judges will look at it, perceive it differently. But from my own view, I think it is very unusual and sort of immoral. Today it may be Rivers State, tomorrow it may be a Lagos governor, tomorrow it could be some other governor. So we mustn't look at this purely from the partisan point of view. Politics change. Tomorrow, the APC might not be in power and may view this issue differently. I think we should have institutions that are very neutral, arbiter.
Are we to blame the Supreme Court for this judgment or the Constitution that created what some have tagged loopholes for the people that are involved in navigating around it?
You can interpret, even if you say come, somebody can interpret it the way they want. You know, it's about the interpretation of the law. I'm not a lawyer, but how does the Supreme Court interpret the law? You know, a new set of judges may interpret it differently. I think this set of Supreme Court judges, you know, tend to be partisan, tend to tilt towards the executive arm of government and the federal government. And I think it's bad for our democracy. Like I said earlier, politics change. You know, people move to different parties, and those who support this judgment today may find themselves in an opposite camp tomorrow. I want us to have neutral arbiter who are not swayed by the politics of the day, who look at the law strictly from the point of view of the law and not whether it will embarrass the government or not. So in my view, I think the good judgment is unusual. And there are certain issues that also have to be decided. The issue about jurisdiction. If probably the Rivers governor had gone to court himself, we probably may have a different judgment. If the National Assembly had voted as is in their book, each individual senators or House of Rep member saying whether they've supported it or not. But everything was just confusing. So I think this case someday for us to really know what the court will decide by a party that has the jurisdiction to do so. Like now, the state governors that went, they had no case with the federal government. And the Supreme Court rightly said that, well, why are you here? What is your business? Are you Rivers governor? How have you been wronged by this? So this is a matter that someday we'll have to go back to court. That's my view.
All right, then. All right, thank you very much, Julius Sogoro. Now let's take this conversation to Sir Chuka Nabife. Good morning to you. Welcome to the conversation. I hope your network is a lot better now. Good to have you.
Thank you.
Oh, yes, good to have you. Now, let's talk about this. The last speaker made a lot of, talked about jurisdiction, the right to present the case before the Supreme Court, those that presented, but then the judgment is being interpreted as such that the president has the right to declare a state of emergency for a period of time. The period of time was not specific, but a period of time. And the last one was for 6 months. Now, from a democratic standpoint, does this declaration strengthen Nigeria's constitutional order, or does it weaken it? Your thoughts?
I like the fact that you put your question with the kicker from a democratic point of view. And that's where I'm going. I am not a lawyer. Neither am I a judge or a magistrate. But from the point of democracy and from my standpoint in society, I've not seen some judgments that so indicts all the arms of government, including the judiciary itself, that the Supreme Court actually indicted itself. Also, it flawed the legislature and it flawed the executive. You know that I don't think that judgment said that the presidency could really declare the state of emergency arbitrarily or just at will. Neither did it give compliment to the way the judiciary did its approval or non-approval of that process in Rivers State. It flawed it. It also did not do what the Supreme Court is supposed to do as the final altar of the people's explanation of judicial things, what the Constitution means, what the spirit of the law means, and what it means for a larger society. That's what the Supreme Court is supposed to do. But here, the Supreme Court was almost like saying nothing. So much activity, but nothing. Remember, was it, I can't remember the author of this statement, but it is in general a public consumption, when it said that justice delayed is justice denied. This judgment is actually coming very, very, very late, to the extent that it is almost inconsequential, because the Supreme, the suspension or the state of emergency, as whatever we want to call it, had passed. You say that the governor of Rivers State, Fubara, has no locus in the matter, or is no governors at that time. So how would he have filed a case? And you said that the governors of the PDP states have no locus in that. Couldn't they have been affected if there had been any such situation elsewhere? So don't they have a chance to actually step out?
So what does this judgment
in such a matter
portend for, the future? I mean, if this
That's
is
exactly what
coming
I'm going
after...
at.
Okay. Go ahead, please.
That's exactly what I'm going at. What I'm going at is that what the Supreme Court did is actually a disservice to the Supreme Court, to the judiciary at the long run, a disservice to democracy at the long run. Because you need to establish to the people the basis for such a thing. Like I told you, I'm not a lawyer, but I remember I had the references to what happened in Pakistan and other jurisdictions. Okay, if those things can't apply in Nigeria, which one can apply in Nigeria? And if you also read or had knowledge of what the minority position of the justice, Judge, I can't pronounce the name correct, minority position, you will notice that he stated it so clearly that we didn't do much to help the matter. Everybody was just playing political correctness, and we don't expect it in the Supreme Court, even if in other courts, not in Supreme Court. And in future, anybody can fly away with anything, because what that judgment made clear is that though it is wrong, the legislature did it and went away with whatever wrong they did. Though it is wrong, the executive did it and went away with whatever wrong they did. Now, the Supreme Court has also made a pronouncement that says, anyway, there's nothing we can do. It is wrong. It is wrong. So what is the right thing?
All right, so you're leaving us with a question. What is the right thing? All right, let's bring this back to Mr. Elimehele. Now, you know, in a situation like this, where does this put us politically in the future? You know, what precedents has this set?
Well, the fear is that it might, ruling party might take it as an opportunity to witch hunt the opposition parties. That's the biggest fear, and that's what we are looking at in future. That we saw it during President Obasanjo's administration. We saw two states, Ekiti and Plateau State, went through this military. He also brought in administrators to oversee the states within that period. And now he repeated himself again during President Tinubu's administration. And we don't know the next that is going to be. So, in a situation of this, the opposition must definitely cry out, because this big stick might be that it is brought out to start whipping opposition into line. And we also saw now that since the Rivers emergency rule came to pass, almost all the opposition governors have gone to the ruling party. So these are fears. But we know too well that time of Obasanjo, it was within the same party. It was PDP governors that those matters affected. But the political climate and the political system of Nigeria that time has gone so different now from what we are seeing. What we are seeing now is that opposition must not survive. So, and the ruling party must look for every means to grab whatever power that will stand on their way in the next election. And that's what we are seeing. So that's the fear that where everybody is afraid of, that this big stick must not only be kept for opposition states and governors in future.
All right, Prince Francis, let's talk about the National Assembly now. The National Assembly. Well, let's not focus on this particular assembly, because some will say this assembly is a rubber stamp assembly, one that would always approve whatever the president brings before it. But should the National Assembly play a more active role beyond initial approval, you know, when it comes to a declaration of a state of emergency? And if so, what should they do?
We need to start by defining the role of the National Assembly when it comes to issues borders on the sovereignty of the nation. The National Assembly is supposed to be like checks, and supposed to check the excesses, in quotes, of the executive arm of government. Now, if they fail in doing that, they leave everybody at the mercy of the executive, and which is what has been playing out since the 10th Assembly came to power. So you find out that you have an assembly that seems to not have its own, it doesn't have its own fangs to be able to fight, to be able to bite anyone. And when you have that, you ask yourself, are we truly in a democratic dispensation? Don't forget that you have the National Assembly, you have the judiciary, you have the executive arm of government. And all of them are independent. They're supposed to operate independently. But in Nigeria today, this is not what it is. So you now have a National Assembly that has become an appendage of the executive arm of government. And by such, the executive has gone haywire because they are doing whatever they want to do, believing that the National Assembly will support them. Now, if you bring it to what happened in Rivers State, and that's why I said that, if you look at what happened in Rivers State, it was not proper to use a voice vote. And we need to end that issue of voice vote in this country, so that we know who is in support of a motion and who is not. So that when we come back, when you come back to your constituency, your people will be able to ask you, you voted for this thing. How is it helping our lives? How is it adding value to our lives?
Yes, the Supreme Court condemned that. They said the way in which the process, of approval was carried out violates the rules of the House and that of the Constitution.
And that is where the Supreme Court has faulted itself.
Exactly the point. Now, so having done that, did you expect the Supreme Court to go back and say, look, the declaration was illegal, despite the fact that the president had the power?
No.
And to what effect?
What I had expected the Supreme Court, because first of all, 2 wrongs don't make a right.
Okay.
If the Supreme Court has identified that there was a flaw in this approval, and you now continue to say, despite that flaw, you must continue, then you are also aiding and abetting it.
What did you expect the Supreme Court to do?
I expected that the Supreme Court would have at that point in time checkmated the excesses and the power of the president. But now you have given the president a blank ticket.
No, it wasn't the call of the president. It was that of the National Assembly to do what is right.
You see, we need to understand what is the role of the judiciary. The judiciary is meant to help in a situation where everybody has lost it. They are supposed to come and interpret. So in interpreting the law, you must also do it in such a way that
you can also set new rules.
Thank you.
Good.
So
Now,
I'd
like for us to get
what
to the end
I
of
wanted
it.
the National Assembly, what I expected the Supreme Court to do is to say, okay, because of the fact that this same assembly, it may be another 11th assembly, may do the same thing. Because right now we have not sorted out the issue of voice vote. So the Supreme Court should have also said that.
No, the Supreme Court has sorted it out. They say it was wrong.
No, Koro. If the Supreme Court says it's wrong, has the National Assembly taken responsibility?
No, that's a different ball game.
No, because the Supreme Court should have
said this is wrong.
No, the Supreme Court should have made a law making it impossible for the National Assembly to continue to abide in doing voice vote.
Which is what they have done. It's more like a judicial declaration.
No.
The process was wrong, and they started the process.
But the Supreme Court faulted that the voice vote is wrong. But the Supreme Court gave judgment, in support of even what they said is wrong. By giving the president
what the Supreme Court,
more power.
The Supreme Court relied on the letters of the Constitution to say, look, the president has the powers to declare state of emergency.
Yes.
But the process in which the approval was given by the National Assembly is faulty.
It's faulty. Good. Then the Supreme Court should have found a way to address that and not add to the power of the president.
But you know that the Supreme Court doesn't make law; they interpret.
See,
so it's going to go back. It can go back again to
some judgments.
This is why I keep saying that. Yes, the 1999 Constitution is an obnoxious document that should be shredded.
You have always said that. We'll come back to that. Let's go to Sachukan Nabufe. Sachukan Nabufe, I like the fact that you brought up the issue of the dissenting judgment given by Justice Obuenya, and he said, look, the president has the powers to declare a state of emergency, but he doesn't have the power to suspend the governor and the legislature. I ask, let's proceed. Now, before the declaration of a state of emergency, the president will have had information or intelligence, either that there is a breakdown of law and order, or that there is a likelihood of a breakdown of law and order in the state, and so he has the power to declare the state of emergency. At this point, it becomes clear to everyone that, look, the governor and the State House of Assembly couldn't put a wedge to that descent to anarchy, more like. So if we declare a state of emergency and still allow the governor and the State House of Assembly to be in place, to what end?
We are not trying to vitiate. Instead of explain something, look at the truth. Okay, let me not use the absolute word, the truth. Look at the facts as they are. Facts as they are is that there are institutions, call them tools or apparatus of governance in a democracy, democratic instruments. Even if the president has a deluge of information that we don't have, which is what is supposed to be, then he has the instruments of democratic institutions to make sure that he takes decisions that will appear well taken, properly taken, and with the instruments of law, legislation, and his executive power. You don't just wake up any day and say, given what I know. We know you know too much. We know there are too much in on your table. Nobody should doubt it. But
Sachuka, permit me to butt in at this moment. I think you are trying to reduce this conversation to what happened in Rivers State. I want us to look beyond Rivers State. talk about, contextualize it within Nigeria. Let's leave Bola Tinubu and Sim Fubara out of it. Now, we had a Joshua Dariye, who was governor of Plateau State. Under his watch, people were slaughtered, and he couldn't do anything. The House of Assembly couldn't do anything. We had a president, Olusegun Obasanjo, step in and say, look, I can't take this anymore. Governor, you can't put a weight to all of these things. And he says, state of emergency. He rolls in the troops into Plateau State. So what would the governor be doing at that point? If he had failed ab initio to protect his people, what would be his role during the state of emergency?
You know that the context of a question is actually the question itself. I will explain to you because we were walking from Rivers, but let's walk from Rivers to what should happen or should not happen again, which is what the Supreme Court didn't help us in. I remember that's one of my colleague, the guest here there, who actually established that. The Supreme Court should make sure that given the Obasanjo experience, given the Tinubu other experience we have, we don't have such a thing come in aberration, but let it come in the right way it should, due process. Now, when a government, in democracy, the instrument of the legislature and the lobby instruments that you have over there is for you to make your argument crystal clear and well understand to the people who are going to endorse it, vote on it. That is it. Now, the instrument of the legal system is to establish that there are facts of the matter that are against the spirit of the law or the letters of the law. And then you can now use the instruments you can control within the executive, from police to the military, to do the action. But what we are saying is, in a situation where they sent the Supreme Court, which is the place where everything culminates, couldn't establish that this is how or how not to do it. And this is the deterrent, the punishment for whoever went in aberration. And a situation whereby the legislature just did whatever they wished. Let me remind you, even in this Fourth Republic, we have done voice votes. We have also done constituency by constituency announcement and voting. Remember the situation during the third term, the supposed third term debate in this National Assembly. So it is not like this legislature does not know or does not have precedence.
Okay.
They have.
All right.
But why did they choose to do it? They reduced them. What they did, what it is that they have reduced the magnanimity, the level of grievousness of that state of emergency, to the level that tomorrow somebody, any president, I know it may not be Tinubu, but it may be another president, may just wake up from a different side of the bed, and then he says, state of emergency in 1, 2, 3 states.
All right, thank you so much, Sachuka. I don't really think that Nigerians are in any way surprised over that, because the president of the Senate also told Nigerians that whatever thing the president wants is what they are going to do in the House. So he said he's going to give a nod to wait so far as coming from the president. Let's take this conversation to Julius Okuro. What do you have to say about Nigerians are asking questions of what importance is this judgment? Recall that in October, the Supreme Court, had reserved the judgment. I think that was in October. What value is it again when the Simla Fubara he spent his suspension 6 months, and it's more like his medicine after death? And how do you think we should work on speedy judgment? Because Nigerians are also asking for such, because we're having issues whereby someone will have a case in court, the courts in the case will linger for so long before judgment will be passed and every other thing. What do you think we should do for us to get speedy judgment and timely too?
Well, I don't think it's a matter of medicine after death as far as the judgment in relation to the River State issue. When the Supreme Court makes a judgment, it becomes a precedent establishes a protocol, establishes a law, so to speak. Other courts are not bound to follow that law. So if the Supreme Court decides that the president has the power to declare an emergency in a troubled state, it is a precedent. It's established a law. Smaller courts, inferior courts like the High Court, even the Appeal Court, are bound by that precedent. Agreed parties can cite that case as a precedent decided by the Supreme Court. So establish a protocol. So it still matters, even though it's not the Rivers governor has come back to his seat. It set a precedent. So it still matters for future cases. On the speedy delivery of judgment, it's just a Nigerian thing. Probably we need to expand our courts. Probably the judges are overworked, such that the volume of cases that come to get them are, they are humans, maybe too overwhelming that they cannot decide it on time. And probably maybe we need to legislate on it. In my view, I don't think it is all cases that have to go to the Supreme Court. There's some cases I think should terminate at the Appeal Court or even the High Court. So if the Supreme Court has to deal with a family matter from even the magistrate court that still gets to the Supreme Court, even the Supreme Court has to deal with a customary case or a land matter. So the volume of cases may be so much that there's a limit to what they can do. So it is when they have time, they will not deal with certain cases. Although this case is of utmost importance, it's such a priority that I believe they should have dealt with it within 1 or 2 months. So I don't know why it took them over 6 months that by the time they're dealing with it, it has, events have overtaken it, so to speak. But I still think that the judgment matters because it sets a precedent. Lower and inferior courts are bound to follow the precedent of the Supreme Court. That is given. For the speedy delivery of judgment, I think the cases they have, I think not all cases should terminate at the Supreme Court. As it is now in Nigeria, a case can move from a magistrate court to the Supreme Court. That's why you get some cases take over 20 years before they are finally decided on. I think we can legislate it such that some cases should terminate at some level of court. Not all cases should go to the Supreme Court. That's what I think.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Julius, for your submission. I will also ask the gentleman to stay with us as we move on to the next conversation, which is about the detained former AGF Malami accusing the EFCC chairman of personal grudge and demands arraignment or release in 24 hours. Zua to stay with us, of course, we'll look into this after this quick break.
Former Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice Abubakar Malami, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, has launched a scathing attack on the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, accusing its chairman, Ola Olukoyede, of harboring a deep-seated personal vendetta and orchestrating a politically motivated probe against him. In a press statement issued Monday by his media aide, Mohammed Doka, Malami demanded the immediate recusal of Olukoyede from the investigation, describing the ongoing detention and threatened prosecution as a witch hunt fueled by historical acrimony, animosity, and his recent defection from the All Progressives Congress, APC, to the African Democratic Congress, ADC. Well, Malami's grievances trace back to his tenure under former President Muhammadu Buhari when the federal government established the Justice Ayo Salami Judicial Commission of Inquiry to probe allegations of corruption within the EFCC. Olukoyede served as secretary to that panel, and Malami claimed the publicly available report contained adverse findings against him, creating an irreconcilable conflict of interest. Malami argued that he has been prejudged and cannot expect a fair probe under the current EFCC leadership. Well, he further called on the current AGF, that's Attorney General of the Federation, Fabomi, to intervene and transfer the case to another law enforcement agency to restore credibility and public confidence, warning that continued involvement in by Olukoyede risks serious institutional damage. Adding fuel to these allegations, Malami accused the EFCC of planning to rely on questionable witnesses, including individuals convicted and serving sentences abroad. People, he says, should face extradition rather than be used in prosecution. Insisting on his right to due process, Malami demanded either his immediate arraignment in court or unconditional release within 24 hours, citing sections 35, subsection 3, 4, and 5 of the 1999 Constitution as amended. We still have our gentlemen here with us, Prince Francis Chilaka and Mr. Julius Elimehele, and Julius Ogunre, who joined us from Abuja, as well as Chuka and Nabufe, who joined us from Oka. Gentlemen, thanks for staying with us. It's still a full house. Elvis, let me start with you. Malami, Olukoyede, recuse yourself because, I mean, there's a conflict of interest. You were a secretary in the Ayo Salami investigation, of the Commission of Inquiry. I chaired it and all of that. And I know your disposition and all of that. So now, this is a case of why me? You are bringing people who are supposed to be extradited. I think he liked that word, extradition and rendition, because we'll come to that in a moment. And he said, look, Olukoyede, recuse yourself. What's your reaction to the fact that anytime somebody is caught, is being investigated, you ask, why me? Why not other people?
I think I'm happy that it's happening now that he has also left the office, and he has also seen what happened to some Nigerians when he was there as Minister for Justice and Attorney General of the Federation. Some people also made this kind of accusation when he was there, which he is making now too. Again, he said that because of his political alignment and so kind of now, forget about that. If really you don't have skeleton in your cupboard and you are investigated, let's get to the court. The court will do the needful. At the level of investigation, you are saying that the head of the agency should recourse himself out of your matter. Or should be taken to another agency. Is it ICPC? The agency that spotted your matter, that started the investigation, let them do their job. But the only area I'm accusing the agency is, let this be done in dispatch so that he can appear in court. Let him face the judge and let his charges be read to him, and I begin to think of how to defend him. That keeping him in detention while they are talking about investigation.
So you agree with him that he should be arraigned within 24 hours?
Within 24 hours, that's how he's supposed to let him be arraigned. Then he will know his charges, and he will now face his charges before the judge. Okay. Not that he is kept and you are being in detention, then you are still talking of doing your investigation, which means they have not really done their job.
Talking about reforming our criminal justice system. Now, the Prince, sorry, Elvis Land.
Which means the EFCC have not done their job diligently before bringing him into detention. They should have concluded that, then meet in court, let the court grant him bail, and if his court meets his bail conditions, then he will be attending to his matter from home or wherever.
All right, then. Prince, let's bring you in. I heard you in the morning on the radio, VOP radio, and you were asked about this issue of Malami. Now, do you think it has anything to do with political witch hunt? That is one question. Another question is, we see this administration more like trying itself. when I say trying itself, Buhari handed over to Tinubu, the APC, the same APC, more like a seamless transition from one party to the same party. And we see this administration trying Chibueze Ngige, who served as Minister of Labour, APC. We see Hadi Seriki, Aviation Minister under Buhari, APC. Now Malami, former AG, tied to Abacha Lutz under APC. Is that an intentional fight against corruption in this that we see this administration carry on?
I don't see it as a corruptional fight. I just think that we have a system that is not working. And when I say the system is not working, we do not have a system that punishes you, that holds you responsible when it should. Malami has raised some issue concerns, and as a Nigerian and as somebody who watches political development, those concerns are serious. Why was he not arrested when he was a member of the APC?
But I just listed members of the APC that have been arrested.
No. When you say member, he's no longer a member of APC.
No, but I just also listed some APC members that are undergoing investigation.
Okay, let's be very honest with ourselves. I believe in justice. And like I've always said, you cannot have peace without justice.
What's your definition of justice in this case?
My definition of justice is that, one, when you pick up somebody, 24 hours, take him to court. Justice is not left for EFCC to determine. EFCC is not the body that determines who is clean and who is not clean. The job of EFCC is to do investigation, arrest somebody, and take the person to court. But the EFCC is now acting as a court of its own. It's not. I will not support that. That's an abuse. Unfortunately, Nigeria is a country where you get arrested before investigation is commenced. But ordinarily, the investigation should have been commenced beforehand, completed, so that as they're arresting you, they're taking you to court. It becomes the responsibility of the court to determine whether you are guilty or not.
Prince, in trying not to, cloak this whole trial with a toga of political witch hunt, should we not try Malami for what he did as Attorney General?
I am not saying no. See, let me tell you, my happiness is that Ngige, Malami, and others that you have mentioned, they are feeling what ordinary, the poor Nigerians feel every day. But you must do it in the right way. Okay. Nobody will say, don't try Malami or don't try Ngige. But what I'm saying is that you do not arrest somebody and start investigation. Conclude with your investigation, arrest the person, and take the case to court. Let the court now decide.
What if the freedom of that person will impede investigation?
In what way?
In several ways.
No. Putting that person under lock and key of EFCC
might impede investigation.
No. Putting that person under lock and key of EFCC is why you have this whole issue of political witch hunt. That is why.
Now, I just asked you, what if setting that person free, you arrest him, you are investigating him, and he's free? Is it not going to impede?
No. Okoro, I said something. Maybe you didn't hear me. Before you arrest somebody, conclude your investigation. And make sure that you have a watertight case.
What if that person is critical to your investigation?
In what way?
You need his presence.
In what way?
You need his presence.
Is he running away?
Some of them do.
Is he running away?
Some do run away.
You already have his international passport. The best you can do is put him under house arrest.
What if he's having multiple passports apart from just your
apart from having multiple passports? We have 1,780
on roads. Exactly in Nigeria that people can move.
See, you need to. You also. That's why you go to court. That's why you put somebody on bail. That's why people stand for bail for somebody. So when you put him on bail, somebody that will come and bail him will be somebody that you know that if you hold this person, you must produce him.
All right.
I mean, see, the problem is this. EFCC has lost its core responsibility to Nigerians, not just to anybody. It's just like the Nigerian police. You go to the police station, you see a lot of people in the cell. And by the time you start making inquiry, you find out that they're investigating you. Why would you be investigating somebody and have the person under key and lock?
Okay. Well, let's bring Julius Oguro into this conversation. Julius, thank you very much for staying back. Now, about Malami, it's an alarming sum that he's being accused of embezzling. $310 million. Money is recovered from the loot. And, you know, we've always talked about these monies recovered. What happens to these monies recovered? And then Nigerians in hushed tones tell themselves, oh, these monies are relooted. You know, but we have Malami now in the eye of the storm. What's your reaction to this? Should we put this on partisan politics, witch hunting, and, you know, let it slide? Or how would you react, or how do you react to this trial going on right now, in light of the other trial as well, Ngige, whose lawyers applied for bail but was refused bail because they say he's a flight risk, you know, and the rest, everything going on right now. Not forgetting Emefiele, who's been in court since this administration came into office, even though some things have been recovered, but he's still, you know, going in and out of court. Sometimes even the EFCC and the police drag him like the soldiers in the olden days dragged the linen of Jesus. What exactly? How do you react to all of this?
One thing, you know, if you are guiltless, you should submit yourself to trial, you know, to investigation and to trial. When Malami was in charge, they also went against the opposition figures. You know, so it's neither here nor there. And I found it very funny, even almost incredible, that he was asking for the EFCC chairman to recuse himself. It is funny because you can't, like, if the police stops you and you now ask the IG to recuse himself, they're doing their job, in my view, in the sense that it is the duty, it is the task of the EFCC to investigate, to detain, you know. I don't think it has to do with the person or the personality of the EFCC chairman.
What if it does?
I don't think he has to.
What if it does?
Hello?
What if it does? What if it does?
No, really, you can't do that. It's like if police stopped you on the road and you said President Tinubu should stop being president because you had an issue with him. You know, it doesn't make sense. The EFCC is obligated to do its job. They should do it. Probably, you may say they may have, they may not do the same thing to somebody who is in the APC. But, you know, that does not mean that everybody who is in the opposition should be let free because, if they touch you, say, oh no, because I'm in the opposition. You know, it doesn't make sense. The fact is that you should be blame free. If you are not blame free, you innocent, you should submit yourself to investigation and trial. You know, so I don't see it from the prism of witch hunting or whatever. This is how Nigeria has been. When the Malami was in charge, the former EFCC chairman was his close associate, and they went seriously hard against opposition figure and people they perceive to be anti their government, anti the administration. So should we stop all prosecution, all investigation because people will come out and say, oh, they are against me because I'm in the position. So it doesn't make sense to me. The fact is that you should be blame free. You should be innocent. You should not put your hand into the tilt. You know, if there's suspicion that there's a great suspicion that you have done something wrong, whether you're in the position, whether you're in the ruling party, the government has the right, the police has the right to come for you. So in this case, so I don't think his argument holds water. He should be defending himself. He should be saying, no, I didn't do this. I wasn't involved in this. And, you know, I think the case should go to trial. I'm really interested to see the outcome of this.
Okay.
With other suspects in Ngige and Co, it's the same thing. Let it go to trial. Let's see what the FCC has against them and should present it in court. The FCC, in the end, will not be the final arbiter of this. They will only present their case and the judges will make a decision. So, but I found it very funny and laughable. This was a man that was in power a few years ago and they rode roughshod over Nigeria. They did all sorts of things. And now it is now on the other thing. You know, they are against me. If the government should say, okay, we are not going after opposition figure, of course, they will not go after people who are also aligned with the APC. So what will happen to the country? So everybody can just still misbehave and just because you're in the opposition, that gets you a free ticket. I don't think so.
All right, then, thank you very much. Sachuka Nabife, with the antecedents of EFCC, especially if you want to take the issue of Mr. Godwin Emefiele, put it in context. He was arrested, accused of owning a weapon, accused of some other things that were later dropped. Now, can we exonerate the EFCC from witch hunting in this regard? Saying that the man is saying these accusations against me are fabricated. He's been accused of terrorism financing. That's part of the thing, and that's heavy. That is a heavy allegation leveled against him. Terrorism financing and a few other things.
Thank you. Maybe because I am in the media and I've seen a lot. I don't subscribe to these media trials that some of these agencies, in their bid and bravado to show that they are working, do. Malami is within his rights to ask that somebody he suspects not to have the qualification to give him fair judgment should recuse himself. It is within his right. And in law, it is within natural justice that somebody should not be involved in his own case or a case that he is involved in. It is a cardinal thing in law. So if Malami can establish that the EFCC helmsman, it doesn't need to be the person in charge of the investigation or the prosecution officer. No. Because the man at the top gives the man who is implementing the case the directive. Or don't you understand it that way? So Malami is within his right to say he should recuse himself. He is also within his right. I would have been against him if he is saying that the case should be thrown away because no. He said the case should go to court. And that is right. EFCC should, if it is established that you have some things that are not so clear, because a judge must always, his hands must be clean. If it is established, you can pass over the file. A crime is a crime against the state. It's not a crime against any agency. It's not a crime against the judiciary. It's not a crime against the police. It's not. It is a crime against the state. So if EFCC does not have anything to hide, and it is found to have some bias or suspected to likely have a bias, of course, they move it. There are several over 42 agencies of state that do investigations. That is one. Secondly, is as regards the area of things that we perceive to be against the law that some people are doing. It still boils down to what I said in the earlier discussion. A justice delayed is justice denied. We must find something. I think a colleague of mine in this panel has said it also. We must find a way to be dispatching justice quickly. We treat issues before they don't linger. Because sometimes what people bandy, even if it is rumor, I'm talking from communication theories now, what is said often turns out to become the norm. And it may not be true, but facts are things that are repeated, are said and stated. And that is what is sacred. Justice deals with methods. If the method that they are operating in Malami's case abhors the system, of establishing who should judge over a matter or who should prosecute a matter, please, the state should assist Malami to get justice. Remember, you are not guilty until proved guilty.
Interesting.
So Malami for now is a citizen with every right. He is not guilty until the court proves him guilty. That is where I disagree with media trial.
All right,
So
interesting, because I
if he
wanted to
has
ask the question
it
regarding
done.
to that too. I wanted to ask, why must we have everything, be made available to the media, not just the EFCC? Now, we saw also the NSA bringing out some information that some have tagged very important or vital that shouldn't make it to the media, still surfacing the media. Are we seeing, and it's thriving more within this particular administration? Are we seeing it giving the people the right to know what is playing out within the policy, or is it a way to further, reduce or, will I say, tarnish people's image or reputation?
You've answered it, Fina. But let me establish where you get the answer. And it is very important that we establish that. Let me tell you, there's a technique in politics. Some people call it pickling, like it's in cooking in the kitchen. If, for example, I begin to needle at a fact and I begin to garnish it, I begin to like Joseph Goebbels did for Hitler. It may there may not be any any judgment, any place, or any establishment of any fact. But before the fact goes to the theater of public justice, you would have been adjudged not fit, even if judgment exonerates you. So in politics, some of these things can be done to tarnish an enemy. In reality, these things, this is where you answer the question. These things that they put out on our lap, investigative agencies or the whatever system does that, all these things they throw on our lap, we may not need them.
Okay.
That is the spirit of the fact that they say you don't speak on a case judgment in court.
All right, then.
That is the spirit. The spirit.
All right, then. Thank you very much,
Sir
Chuka.
Let them finish before they tell us.
All right, thank you very much, Chuka Nabife. Now let's move on to another conversation now. A former Kaduna State Governor, Nasir El-Rufai, has publicly denied claims linking him to comments on which region should produce Nigeria's president in 2027. He described the reports as false and misleading, saying they did not reflect his views in any form. The claims, which circulated widely on social media, alleged that El-Rufai stated that the presidency should shift to the south in 2027. Now, reacting to the reports, El-Rufai dismissed them outrightly. He said the information being circulated was completely fabricated and did not originate from him. In a statement shared on his official X account on Monday, the former governor described the report as untrue, despite how widely it had been spread. He said he never made such comments in any speech, interview, or post on his verified platform. Well, this is El-Rufai, who is in the opposition, speaking up at this point in time. Let me start off with Mr. Elvis Elemihele. Let me start off with you on this one. In fact, I wonder why we're talking about El-Rufai and this, personally speaking. But this is before us now, El-Rufai. But how do you react to his statement? Is it somebody that you will take seriously?
No, not at all. Not at all. And again, his political godfather is also with him in the same party, ADC, as it is now. And the rumor is that, it's not even the rumor, the body language is he can set up ADC and give the presidential ticket to somebody else. So I'm talking of Atiku Abubakar. So for now El-Rufai to now be accused that he's saying that presidency should remain in the south, it means he's going against the will and the body language of his godfather.
Could it be they've had a rethink, and now they want to put somebody else in the south?
No, not at all. I don't think so, because Atiku Abubakar's body language and his movement recently, you see, he has started visiting. He's consulting, and it shows that the ticket, and you see the way they have been dodging it. If you ask any member of ADC about this very question, they'll tell you they are still aligning and they are still consulting. They have actually been dodging this. Where is their presidential ticket?
You don't think it's because they don't want the ruling party to know their plans?
But whether the ruling party knows or not, they are coming to meet Nigerians. So Nigerians are the deciding people that say, okay, they said their presidential candidate is going to come from the north or is going to come from the south. Let us begin to make up our mind who that presidential candidate is. So El-Rufai is denying it because he doesn't want to step on the feet of his political godfather, because knowing fully well that the ticket is already designed to be given to Atiku. We are going to see it. We are entering a new year.
Briefly, you said we shouldn't take a man serious, a man that said, look, President Tinubu, I put you there and I'm going to remove you. You said we shouldn't take him serious.
Yes, because we saw this same man in 2022 and 2023, how he was campaigning for the same Tinubu now that he's telling Nigerians that he's going to remove.
He said, I put you there.
That
so
is,
I will
yes,
also be part of it.
and the same Tinubu now has now become somebody that he wants to remove because he didn't get that ministerial slot he was looking for. So this same kind of person is not somebody that Nigerians should believe in. We know El-Rufai, even it's possible that before the week runs out, another statement will come from him that will contradict what he has just told us.
All right, Prince Francis Chilaka, though we have this gentleman agreement, it's not constitutional about zoning the presidency from north to the south and all that, and now we're having a southerner sitting there as the #1 man in Nigeria, and the north, they're not happy about it. You know, we have this back and forth with them saying that they want him to be out, they want a northerner to be there, and some people are saying, I did not endorse a southerner to be there, and I think my own right is still within the north. And some persons are saying, no, don't take him serious. Forget about El-Rufai, he can't do anything. And we know how Northerners have been so vocal about taking the seat come 2027, even when they know it's going to distort the whole agreement that they have about the South being there for 8 years and the North enjoying it for 8 years too. What do you have to say about this? And why are we talking about 2027 when we're still in 2025?
Okay, the reason why you're talking about 2027, why you're still in 2025 is because the ruling party has started campaign.
So there's no 2026 in our calendar again in Nigeria.
The ruling party has defaulted, and INEC has not seen the need to punish them. The ruling party has started campaign. Even they started the campaign immediately the president was sworn in, which is an aberration. But unfortunately, this is Nigeria. Anything goes. Now, coming to talk about El-Rufai, like Moses said, we shouldn't be talking about El-Rufai. But we're talking about El-Rufai because we seem to have just one political party today that is in opposition, and that political party seems to be ADC. Others have gone. Others are non-existent. Now, if you look at ADC and the way ADC is, I would say this, and I keep saying it. It will be the death of ADC if the ticket is given to a northerner. And that's a simple truth.
Prince, you have
I'm coming. Whether we like it or not, there is a gentleman agreement. And that gentleman agreement must play out. If ADC decides to give its ticket to a northerner, I would vote for Bola Tinubu.
You have always maintained this position, and I keep asking you.
And I keep telling you that Atiku will not contest.
Will not contest.
Yes.
So between then and now, nothing has changed.
Atiku will not contest.
Can we do a bet? Can we get on a bet on it?
I thought we have done that before. But you know, if you've taken time to study the political environment today, you will understand that there are certain things you don't say to the ears of APC. They will come after it. Look at what's happening to Adeleke. Before now, nobody knew anything about Accord Party. Nobody knew if there was even anybody, even if Accord Party had a chairman. The moment Adeleke moved into Accord Party, and Accord Party now said, you are a candidate, what has happened? It has become factionalized.
Parallel primary.
You don't have somebody else coming. They say they have 300 delegates. They're like, it shows you that APC is on ground to destroy any party.
So people are keeping their cards close to their chest.
That's it.
All right then. So Junior Seguro, let me come to you. Yes, your thoughts on this one. Really. You might need to unmute your microphone because we can't get your audio.
Oh, I said.
Go ahead, please. All right, then. Unfortunately, I think in the panic he clicked on something. Well, let's quickly run to Sachuka Nabife. Now, how would you react to Erufai's statement and what is playing out within the ADC currently and the political space in general in Nigeria? Go ahead, please. Sachuka. Well, we need to get your audio as well. We're struggling to get your audio. That's Sachuka Nabife, who's speaking to us from our Orca studio. Let's have that one fixed so we can get your contribution before we wrap up the conversation this morning. Well, go ahead if your audio is clearer now. Could it be that the powers that be have infiltrated the system? All right. Well, basically, let's have your concluding thoughts, Prince Francis Chilaka.
No, I think it's unfair for anybody to say rule out. Don't listen to El-Rufai or don't take him seriously. And I think there's something has been put out of context. El-Rufai said that he was not contesting. He said himself that he himself is not contesting for 2027 elections as president. And I think that is where they got the misconception. He said he is not contesting. And I believe he said that, and I believe something he's going to abide by. El-Rufai is not contesting. So, and I think that is where that misinformation came from. And people decided to add one and one together and say, El-Rufai said this. But you see, he has come out to say, I didn't say this. It doesn't mean that he does not, it doesn't mean that if the gentleman agreement will not be honored, it will be honored. I'm telling you, if ADC makes the mistake of giving the ticket to the North, you will have a protest vote.
All right then. Mr. Elimehele.
With the body language from Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, I'm afraid whether what you are saying, Prince, will come to pass. But we will soon see that. And also, what you are saying now is what actually killed PDP. There was a protest against PDP giving the ticket to the North when the power was supposed to shift to the South. So that's the line you are still coming from now. If really ADC works in that same line, there will be protest vote. I know about that because the Southerners must want to complete their 8 years. The North has just completed theirs, but let's just watch and see. But the body language of Atiku Abubakar, to me, shows that he's ready to try once more.
All right, then this would be a good place to wrap up this conversation. I must say a very big thank you to you, gentlemen. We've been speaking with Prince Francis Chilaka, political and public affairs commentator, and also Elvis Elimehele, national affairs analyst. Now, from Abuja, we've had Julius Ogunro, a media and political consultant, and from Oka, Sachuka Nabife, managing director, Anambra Civic and Social Reformation Office, public affairs analyst, writer, columnist, and fellow of the Nigerian Guild of Editors. Well, thank you very much, gentlemen. We'll be going into newspaper review very shortly. We'd like you to come along with us as we look at the papers, dissect the stories, and make sense of it all. Well, that's it on the show. That's it on VOP this morning. I am Moses Humphrey, wishing you a beautiful day. Join us again at 10.
And I'm Fina Okechukwu. Have a nice day.
I'm Chukwu Mokoro. See you again. Bye for now.
In a world where truth is the ultimate